Hey guys, it's Melissa here from melissaopen.com. Welcome to another episode of Awaken Your Inner Awesomeness, the weekly podcast devoted to all things spirituality and self-improvement. I am so delighted you're here with me today. Today I'm going to be talking about how to live more authentically and how to be your truest self. I always channel messages, and some of you who follow me on my social media platforms, maybe you've seen them. I do readings for the collective on TikTok and on YouTube, and also on my Facebook and Instagram channels. And when I do channeling, I always ask the universe, what message do you want the collective to have? What is it that the collective needs to know right now? And so as I sat down to think about what I was going to record for the podcast this week, I asked the same question. What do people really need to know? And what came out was being authentic. That many of us are wearing a mask in the world, or we feel like we're not being seen. And that can be super frustrating. When you feel like you can't be your true self, because maybe people won't accept you, or I don't know, there's so many reasons that we are not our true selves. I think for many people, we've just gotten used to blending in with the whole world, and it's safer for us to not be seen, but that isn't what we're supposed to be doing. We didn't come here to blend into the wall, to not be noticed, and it doesn't mean that you necessarily have to be in the spotlight. But we came here to make an impact on this world. And you do that every day by interacting with people, by being with your family. We all leave a lasting imprint or impact on this planet. And you came here for a purpose. So you're not living your purpose if you're hiding and if you're not being who you were truly meant to be. It can be really vulnerable to try to be yourself. Again, I think most people just want to be accepted. And if you're afraid that being yourself is going to cause you to not be accepted, you're allowing that fear to hide who you truly are. And that's an uncomfortable feeling. I mean, you may placate yourself for a while because you feel like, well, I fit in and no one's going to say anything. But it's painful to have to hide who you truly are. So today I want to talk about how to be more authentic in your everyday life and how to be your truest self, because only when we do that can we truly experience happiness. The first thing I want to say is I think that everyone needs to sit down and actually get to know themselves. Most of us don't even really know what we want out of life. It's funny because if you ask someone, how are you doing? Most people respond fine, and they don't say anything other than that. Or how was your weekend? It was fine. We don't elaborate on the details of our lives. And I think that if you ask somebody, what are your dreams? People have a hard time answering that question. I think that it's important for you to take some time to sit down in some stillness and to ask yourself, what is it that you find important in life? What is it that you really like about life? And what is it that you dislike? What are you good at? When we don't identify those things, it's hard to say what truly makes us happy. And it's hard to live authentically if we're not sure who we really are. I think for many of us, as reformed people pleasers, I know I am one, we were so focused on making everyone else happy that you get lost in the background. We put our needs last because we're trying to put everyone else first. And now you're left, and if you're like me, with an empty nest now, I'm left like, okay, it's just me. What do I really want out of life? And I know a lot of people are going through that. If you are of my age, which is in the later 40s, we have our roles completely changing. My children, not that they don't need me, but they don't need me as much, and I don't see them every day. And before, that's what my life was wrapped around, right? Being a mom, being a teacher, and putting everyone else's needs ahead of my own. So it took me a minute, and it's still taking me a bit to adjust to this, because at first it was pretty lonely and it was confusing, because what's my role now, right? Like, who am I? Who am I if I'm not a mom or a teacher or a this or a that? But we're not those things. Those are the roles we play in life, but it's not who we truly are. So who are you at your core? It's time for you to really identify that. Identify what your core values are. And you owe it to yourself to work on that and to ask yourself, what do I find important in life? What do I like? What do I dislike? What am I good at? One of the things that I discovered, this was the first year that I made Thanksgiving dinner for my children. We had lunch at my house. We did go to other relatives later in the evening, but at lunchtime, I had my kids and I had invited my brother, but he fell asleep and overslept, and so he didn't make it. But it was the three of us, my two kids and I, and it was a lot of work. And I remember thinking that I was very excited to get to do this for them. I'd always wanted to be able to put on a big dinner, and, so many of the women in my family, I saw them pull this off, and they made it look easy. It is not easy, let me tell you. And after doing this, I was making the 2 fresh pies. I discovered I love to cook, but I know that making pies was so much harder than I remembered, and I'm so bad at rolling out the crust and the dough and all of that. But I enjoyed doing it, and I thought to myself, you know what, that's one thing I would love to maybe do, is to learn how to do that better. Maybe take a cooking class, because it's something that I really enjoy doing. But we don't know what it is that we enjoy unless we put ourselves out there and try new things, right? I could have just said, we're going to go to our friend's house for dinner and I'm not going to mess with lunch and I'm not going to do it. But I really wanted to put this together. And it was a lot of work, but I'm glad I did it. And it made me realize that I do truly enjoy cooking for other people. It is one of my passions. I was one of those people that had a subscription to the Food Network magazine, and I watched all of the shows when it first came out. I remember being a kid and watching Channel 9 and watching the Frugal Gourmet and then Yan Can Cook. I used to watch those shows, and it interested me even back then. But I had kind of forgotten about it, this passion that I had for trying new recipes and trying new things. We learn more about what we want when we venture out and do things that maybe we wouldn't normally do. Another thing that's really important is to be more self-aware. Understanding who you are and how others perceive you will help you to know, how vulnerable you can be with people. Unfortunately, there is a saying not everyone wants the best for you, and that's true. And so it is a lesson in learning who to be vulnerable to and who not to be vulnerable to or with. And unfortunately, sometimes your family members are the ones who are the worst to be vulnerable with. If you followed me for a while, you know that my brother has had a really hard time after my mom's passing. And we were once really close. And that's not the case anymore. So at one time I would have opened up to my brother and really talked to him, and now I don't feel that way. I don't feel like I could. But on the other hand, I know that I really could talk to my sister and I could tell her things. So it's also important to understand who's in your corner and who you have to talk to know your support team, because they help you to be able to open up and to be more authentic. Another tool that helps us when we're wanting to be more authentic is mindfulness. Mindfulness practices are so good because for many of us, if you're not being authentic, it could be that maybe you don't have this self-worth. Maybe you've always seen yourself as not worthy of other people's time or attention or affection. And that simply is not true. Everyone is worthy of that. But along the way, we take cues from others that tell us things that maybe are not necessarily true, but we take it as our truth. Now, it's important to practice mindfulness. I love doing affirmations and guided meditations and being able to identify, okay, where do I feel the most vulnerable? Where do I feel like I just don't feel successful in this area of my life? Really looking at that and being able to examine why you feel that way. And is there any way that you can make improvements in that area? And even just improving a little bit makes you feel amazing and so accomplished. I am not a handy person at all. And when things break around my house, I get so frustrated because I don't know what I'm doing. But lately, I have learned so much from YouTube, right? If something breaks, I go and check out a YouTube video to figure out how to fix it. And it makes me feel really accomplished when I'm able to do that. And of course, I can't do that every single time. Some things are way more complicated, and I need to hire somebody to do it. But there have been a lot of things that I've been able to fix myself just because I ventured out there, watched the video, and then thought, okay, I think I can do this. And I would never have thought that that would have been the case. So putting yourself out there, I have people say to me all the time, like, oh, you're doing this and you're doing that. And I would never have the courage. Well, I might not have necessarily had the courage originally either. But I've been working on my mindfulness. I've been working on self-love, self-care. It's a journey that I've been on for a long time. And it's through that journey of self-discovery that I've learned that if something scares me, it means that I am supposed to be trying to tackle that. Fear is often a trigger for us. And for many of us, it's a sign that, why am I afraid of this? To look into it. What scares me about this? And for me, it's like, okay, well, the only way to get over this is to do it and to see, was it really that scary? And in most cases, the answer is no, it wasn't. So being confident, practicing that mindfulness, those I am affirmations, even the guided meditation, because oftentimes these triggers that we have, the fears that we have, they're on a subconscious level. And you can do meditations to help get rid of those fears and limiting beliefs that are holding you back. I think a lot of times things happen to us as kids that we don't remember, but our subconscious remembered it. And so if there's some sort of phobia or something that is plaguing you, it's very possible that something happened to you when you were younger and you just don't remember it. That's why meditation is such a great tool, because it can unlock things that are deep within your subconscious to work on the healing. We don't unlock it so it can torture us. We unlock those things so that we can heal it, process it, and work through it. It's really important to process your emotions. Oftentimes, when we're not being authentic, we can hold on to resentments and a lot of other negative, low vibe energies and emotions because it doesn't feel good when we're not being authentic. And this is another thing that goes along with being vulnerable, but it's speaking your truth and setting boundaries for yourself. There's so many times when we want to please others that we say yes to things that really drain us and drain our energy. And I've just gotten to a place in my life where I just say no. And I set boundaries. And I used to worry what other people would think. And here's an example. When the bell rings and school is over, I wait the 10 minutes we're supposed to wait there and I leave. Because grading and things, if I need to do that, I can do it from home. And I'm not going to stay after and stay for hours. And I know there's a lot of teachers who do that. But my time is valuable. And I've set that boundary for a reason. Now, I do get to school an hour before we're supposed to be there. Because in the morning, I like to be prepared and I'm not a morning person, so I have to have my coffee and I have to have my motivational podcast or also motivational meditations or whatever it is that I'm doing, right? The affirmations. I have to get into the right mindset before I start work. And that's really important for me. But I set that boundary that I leave after school, and I don't do a lot of things that are extracurricular. Some, of course, and I want to support my students, but you can't be everything to everyone, and you can't do everything all the time. I would be really burnt out if I did that. And I know that admin, usually they want you to go to the sporting events and go to this and go to the plays, go do this, go do that. That's great. But that's, you're not getting paid, and it's cutting into your time, and it's great to go and do that once in a while. And I understand that. But you have to set a boundary because it's important. It's important for your own mental health. And setting a boundary is also speaking your truth, standing up for yourself and your values. It's needing to be heard. It's telling your side of the story. And if for no other reason, just getting it out makes you feel better. But you have to stand up for yourself, and you have to advocate for yourself. I think this is really interesting, but one of the things that as a teacher I have noticed is that students are not good at advocating for themselves, at least not like they used to be. I just had a student today. They were working on a project. I gave them time in class. I was walking around, seeing if people needed help. The student said nothing, not a word, the whole hour. And then the last 3 minutes of class came up to me and just said, well, I don't really know what I'm doing. And I just looked at the student and I said, what were you doing for the whole hour we were in here where I was walking around seeing if you needed help? Like, why didn't you say something? Because there's 3 minutes now. I can't help you in 3 minutes, but I could have helped you. And I said, I will help you if you need help, but why did you just sit there for an hour doing nothing? Or I don't know that they were doing nothing, but they said that they were just confused. You have to advocate for yourselves. And the students need to advocate for themselves. And as parents, we need to teach them to do that. And I've had to do that with my children. My daughter got a flat tire and she called me and she was just going to sit there. And I said, you have to call the tire shops. They're going to be closing soon. You have to get this. You have to call the tow truck. You've got to do all of this. And I walked her through it and she did it, but she wasn't going to. And I feel like so many of us get stuck in that freeze mode. You have got to step up for yourself. You've got to stand up for yourself, and you have to speak out for yourself. That is so important. So you need to practice speaking your truth, even if it's hard, even if you make someone mad. And I know it's difficult, but you have to. It's something we have to do, because all it's going to do if you don't do that is you're going to be upset and resentful, and maybe that student is panicking deep down inside, but the only way to get through that is to speak up. It might be scary at first, but the only way that someone can step in and help you, or that you get your needs met, is by speaking up. We have to do that. The last thing I want to talk to you about is just practicing reflection, self-reflection. If something happens to you and maybe you didn't like that, don't beat yourself up, or maybe you make a mistake. Don't beat yourself up. Instead, I want you to get into the habit of looking at everything with curiosity. Look at it as though it's a learning experience. What did that teach me? Do I need to do something differently next time? How can that be better? Stop beating yourself up for not being perfect, because no one's perfect. And when you make a mistake, well, good. You've done what you were supposed to, because that is teaching you something. Your job is to figure out what it taught you. It's okay to make a mistake. What's not okay is to keep doing the same thing over and over and over again and not learning from it. So when that happens, when you make a mistake, and you will, and so will I, ask yourself, what did that teach me? What did I learn from that? Can I do something differently next time? Be really honest with yourself, because being true and being authentic means that You take responsibility for what's yours. We all make mistakes, and it's okay. But get really real with yourself. Why did you make that mistake? And is it something that you can fix in the future? And if it's not something you can change now, let it go, but be reflective and look at how that might change in the future. How could that be different? How could I have done that differently in the future? Well, I wanted to pull some cards for you just to give you some additional messages. And of course, you can't make this up. They all line up perfectly. The first card that came out, and I used Angela Rose's deck, was be brave and step into your courage. It takes a lot of courage to try something new and to trust in yourself. What makes you feel courageous? What are you wanting to try or to do? Trust in yourself and ask yourself, what is the next brave step you can take? And the mantra that goes with this card that you can say to yourself is, I am brave, I am courageous, and I step fully into my power and trust myself. And then you have wild you. So these cards, the way they're coming out, tells me that some of you are tired of just being and living the way you're living, just a boring existence, right? Isn't there more out there? Yes, there is. Yes, there is. The card that came out is wild you. Are you wanting to express yourself? Throw down your hair, move your body? There is within all an inner wise and feminine leader wanting to unleash herself. How did you express yourself as a child? Connect back to your inner wise, feminine, intuitive self. How would it feel to express yourself? What do you do that feels free and soulful? Can you do this today? And the mantra that goes with this card is, it is safe to express myself. And then you have honor your feelings. How have you been feeling? Are you telling yourself you should or shouldn't be feeling a certain way? Feelings are like visitors. They come and go. When we hold our feelings in, the energy can get stuck in our body, and it manifests as physical pain. You have a right to feel how you feel. Honor the feeling. Take a deep breath and release. Allow yourself to be with the emotion you feel. Breathe into it. Truly experience it. It will pass. And the mantra that goes with this card is, today I feel blank, and I honor that. The next card we have is be bold. Stand in your power. Your time to shine is now, and it has to start with you. Now is your time to take your life in your hands and be who you are ready to step into. Who is the person you want to be? Show up as her now. How does the person you want to be show up in her life? Create a vision board or journal how you want your life to be. Now show up as her. The mantra that goes with this card is, today I stand confidently and boldly in my power. I love vision boards. They're such a great way to really get into the feeling of what would my life look like if I could have anything I want. I was just looking at my vision board again today and trying to feel what it would feel like to be that person standing in that photo, living that life. The next card you have is, what excuses am I making? There are always going to be distractions, worry, and fears that we will face when wanting something different in our life. It can feel scary living in the unknown and not knowing exactly how life will unfold when we leap into something new. Trust that you will be fully supported and do it afraid. Take one small action step today to build momentum and confidence. Trust in yourself. You can do this. The mantra that goes with this card is, I can do hard things. And then I pulled a couple of cards from Angela Rose's Sacred Soul Journey deck. And I want to give a shout out to Ginger because Ginger is a listener who gifted me both of these decks. And I just love when people gift me card decks. I think it's such a wonderful and beautiful thing to do for others. So thank you for that. The card that came out first was transformational shift. So some of you are going through a shift and it's on purpose and you're supposed to be. You're not supposed to stay the same. A transformation has begun. You may be noticing discomfort, fear, or conflict. Trust that this change is safe. Life will throw you curveballs to see if you're ready. Trust your transformation. Yeah, and this is your confirmation. This whole message has been about letting go of the fear and stepping into who you truly want to be. Next, you have breathe. Breathe deeper. Slow down and become present with your surroundings. Relax into the present moment. You are right where you are meant to be. And lastly, we have rise. A seed needs the dirt to push against to grow to its fullest potential. Walk through this moment you're in. Trust that the situation is supporting your growth for the highest good. Often when we have conflict, it is uncomfortable, but it's teaching us something and it's helping us to grow. So again, instead of beating yourself up, ask yourself this question. What am I learning from this moment? How have I grown? What is it teaching me? All right, guys. Well, I hope that these messages resonated and were helpful. If you feel stuck, if you want to continue working on self-trust, on growth, all those things, I do offer one-on-one coaching sessions, and you can go to my website, melissaoatman.com, or I also offer online courses. I have the 10-day intensive self-love course, which helps you to build self-trust and self-love and your self-confidence. That course, I still have it on sale right now for $14.99 because I think it's so important and I want it to be affordable and accessible to everyone. And in that course, I give you tools and tips for how to work on self-love. It's 10 daily lessons that are filled with videos from me. You might have meditation and EFT tapping, and it's yours to keep forever. So you don't have to go through it in 10 days. Take it slowly. You could do one lesson a week, or you could get through it and then go back. And some people say, I do it again. Whatever works for you is perfect for you. Check that out on my website as well. If you go to melissaoatman.com and to the shop page, you will see all of my offerings. I also do half-hour and hour readings where I do card readings. So I pull cards like this for you or tarot. And I also do intuitive messages that I get from your guides to help you move on and to get some clarity in your life. So I would love to work with you. If you want to work with me, just hop on over to my website. The link is in the show notes. And you can see all of the things that I offer. You book everything through the website. Once you purchase it, just reach out to me via email, which is also on the website, and we'll schedule your session so that you get the time that really works for you. I hope that you guys have an amazing day. Remember that you are so worthy. And the world needs your light. So continue to shine brightly and to be who you are. And know that the universe needs you so deeply. You are very deeply loved. I am sending you so much love and light. I hope you have an amazing week. And I will talk to you soon. Bye, guys.